matter where we are on Earth, when we look at rivers from above, either on maps, aerial photographs, or satellite images, one of the most striking things we notice is that rivers rarely flow in straight lines. Instead, they bend and curve across the landscape in sweeping loops called meanders. If gravity pulls water downhill, why do rivers spend so much time moving sideways? I'm Professor Gib Bernhardt, and today on Conversations About Geology, I want to talk about why rivers meander, how those bends grow over time, and how some of them eventually get cut off to form Oxbow lakes. These are fundamental processes in fluvial geomorphology, and they help us read floodplains as records of past river behavior. What are meanders, and where do they form? When we talk about a meandering stream, we're really talking about a reach of a river, a stretch where the channel bends back and forth in those familiar snake-like curves called meanders. Meanders tend to form where rivers flow across relatively flat terrain and through soft, erodible sediment, conditions that are typical of floodplains. In these settings, the river has room to move sideways, not just downstream. Small irregularities in flow or bank material cause the channel to curve slightly, and once a bend begins to form, it tends to grow. The key idea here is that meanders are not random. They are a natural, predictable response to flowing water interacting with sediment and slope. As water flows through a bend, it does not move at the same speed across the entire channel. Let's focus on just one bend for a moment. The fastest moving water is typically concentrated along the outside of the bend, while slower moving water occupies the inside of the curve. Geologists often refer to the deepest and fastest flowing part of the channel as the thaw weg. Where water moves faster, it has more energy to erode the bank. This creates what we call a cut bank along the outside of the bend. On the inside of the bend, where flow is slower, sediment is deposited, building a gently sloping surface called a point bar. Over time, erosion on the outside and deposition on the inside cause the bend to grow larger and migrate laterally across the floodplain. Most of this channel change does not happen during normal low flow conditions. Meanders grow and migrate primarily during flood events. During floods, water moves faster, carries more sediment, and exerts greater force on the channel banks. From a geomorphic perspective, floods are not just hazards. They are the events during which rivers do most of their work. If we want to understand why a river looks the way it does today, we need to think about its flood history, not just its average flow. As meanders migrate, they leave behind subtle features on the floodplain: curving ridges, low swells, and abandoned channel segments. These features record the past positions of the river channel and tell us that floodplains are dynamic landscapes shaped by repeated lateral movement over time. Floodplains are not static surfaces. They are built gradually through overbank flooding, sediment deposition, and channel migration. As meanders continue to grow, adjacent bends may migrate toward one another, narrowing the strip of land between them. This is another moment where floods do the decisive work. During a flood, the river may take a shorter, steeper path across this narrow neck, cutting off the older loop. Once the cutoff occurs, the abandoned bend is isolated from the main channel. This feature is known as an Oxbow lake. At first, it may contain open water, but over time it begins to fill with fine sediment, organic material, and vegetation. Many Oxbow lakes are temporary features in geologic terms, gradually becoming wetlands or dry swells as they fill. Meanders and Oxbow lakes matter because they preserve a record of river behavior through time. They influence soil development, wetland formation, and sediment storage. In many settings, abandoned channels and floodplain deposits also provide environments where organic material and cultural features can be preserved. By understanding how rivers migrate in abandoned channels, we gain insight into how landscapes evolve and how the past is recorded in the subsurface. When we look at a meandering river, we're not just seeing water flowing downhill. They remind us that rivers are not fixed lines on a map, but living systems that record their own history in the floodplain. We're seeing a system that reshapes its valley through time, moving sideways, responding to floods, and leaving behind clues to where it has been. Meanders and Oxbow lakes are some of the clearest expressions of that long-term process. Once you learn to recognize them, meanders and Oxbow lakes become some of the easiest features to spot the landscape around the world. This video, Why Rivers Bend and How Oxbow Lakes Form, was written, produced, and hosted by Professor Gilbert Gib Bernhardt. The music for the video is Ambient Singularity, composed and performed by Bjorn Lin.